Reflections are powerful. As children, we learn who we are through the reflections of those around us. In fact, psychologists have found that we need face-to-face contact for our social and emotional development. We also learn empathy through sensing and sometimes even emulating the emotions of others as we're relating face-to-face. Yet, our digital technology has drastically changed the way we relate to each other. In one sense, we're more connected than ever through text and social media, but we aren't spending as much time looking at each other. In fact, we have far less face-to-face contact, even with ourselves.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Nuoance, and it's finally time to go over the most controversial stance you could ever take in VRChat: mirror camping. Ever since the beginning of VRChat, there has always been a group of people who spend copious amounts of time in front of the mirror. Some people believe that these kinds of people are narcissists or boring because they'd rather sit for long periods of time instead of just playing the game. There are hundreds of worlds available for your pleasure, yet people insist on sitting in front of a black cat mirror for 5 hours and then get off. So today we're going to tackle this topic and see what could be going on here. Is there a deeper meaning to all of this? Or are the rumors true and you only sit in front of a mirror because you only care about looking at yourself? I started this video having absolutely no clue where I'd even start, if I'll be honest. I had some ideas, like if age had a factor, or if people who don't make avatars sit in front of the mirror more or less than people who do. And interestingly enough, the data shows that for age, everything's pretty balanced. Those who are between the ages of 30 to 40 seem to lean a little bit more towards not being around the mirror often, but besides that, most shows that they only occasionally spend time at the mirror, which was the mid option. For content creators, there's not much of a difference there either. After that though, I wasn't really sure where to proceed, so I went to Google. I first wanted to see if there was any study done towards people obsessed with their reflection, and found something interesting. Tarwell is a psychologist who developed a form of meditation known as mirror gazing meditation. I couldn't get much more information outside of what she herself provided, but it was a great start to lead us in the right direction. Tara explained the process you go through when taking her class, and what to expect throughout it. It's a pretty simple idea. You just take a mirror and stare at your reflection for a few minutes. No shying away, no talking, just quiet introspection. She believed this was a positive way to bring out all of the negative feelings you've kept stored inside yourself and help people figure out what they need to focus on for their own mental health. While I don't really believe that's fully what's happening in VRChat, one thing did interest me, which is the fact that looking at the mirror is, pun completely intended, a reflection of sorts. Another interesting factor right now is that we're in an all-time low in personable human interaction, which the hypothesis is that this is directly connected to more screen time. I wonder if there's any particular reason why we're having so little human interaction. It must be those darn cell phones again. Humans have a need for physical interaction, so it's a wonder if VRChat, which is closer to interaction than text on the phone or an emote in a game, is being used as a supplement. One thing that personally supports this ideal to me is when people camp at a mirror, they're not just lounging around for most of the time. They're talking to each other, telling stories, sharing woes, bringing laughs. Sure, there's the odd solo dweller, but to me that just solidifies the idea that mirror gazing is a way to reflect on oneself. Even in VR, sitting at the mirror silently gazing will cause your mind to wander and could potentially put you in a meditative state, for better or for worse. Seeing yourself in third person could also just be a way to solidify yourself to the body you're using. My friend Saber has used the same avatar since I met him almost 3 years ago, and it's what pops up in my head whenever I think of him, even though I know what he looks like in person. A little exercise for all of you. Think of someone you know in VRChat, but have either met in real life or at least you've seen their real photo. What do you see? Do you see their actual face or something more virtual? Having all of that time in front of a mirror, especially if there's someone who doesn't change their look too often, can really solidify this virtual identity being a part of who you are. I get a little uncomfortable sometimes wearing avatars that aren't mine, because they just aren't my style. People sitting in front of mirrors don't always need an excuse to be psychological though. Sometimes people just want to sit there because they want to. Maybe their friends were already there and it's just easier to join them instead of asking to move. If you want to talk, you can talk in front of a mirror. It's low effort. It's also a great way to see what's going on around you without actually having to look around. I'm not not sure about others, but my headset feels heavy and it can be a little nauseating to move my head to look at everyone. Having a mirror there just makes it easier to make eye contact with people talking without having to swish your head all over the place. Plus, it's a great way to see who is coming to join you and your conversation, so if it's something that makes them uncomfortable, you can stop the talk and not make things awkward. The final idea for this is that the person in question just enjoys their reflection in VR a lot more than real life, and this can be a problem. Back in my Phantom Sense video, I talked about how an avatar is an extension of yourself, and that is true to some people, but it becomes a massive problem when you start liking how you look in VR more than how you look in real life. A person who thinks this way is at risk because some of their mental balance could be teetering on this online identity they've made. It's no secret that there are people who lie and make up stories in-game to try and sound more interesting. We all know at least one or two. Online, you can become someone else as long as you're convincing enough. And this could be a huge problem for the community as a whole, since now you've based your entire life online on a lie. I want to cover something now known as identity paradox. First off, we can't start without a little definition. An identity is who the person is, or qualities of the person or group that makes them different from others. It's how you see yourself, or how others perceive you as. Have you ever been told that you're just like someone else and maybe start to feel a little queasy? That's because your identity has been minimized from the complexity of who you are to just key points that people see in you. Tons of people have identity crises once or twice in their life when they don't know who they are or what they're supposed to be. The reason this can be so dangerous is because people who are easily influenced by their surroundings can start to believe the stories they've made up. There's always a saying, fake it until you make it. That could cause problems depending on what you're faking. If they're able to separate their life of lies from their regular life, those friends they've made aren't real and rarely ever will be. You can't nurture a friendship on lies, and the cold slap in the face that happens when trying to blur the lines between those different lives can cause a serious question in identity. If they were willing to lie about their life, could their whole personality online be a lie too? This isn't as big of a deal in small increments, saying you have a dog when you really don't, for example, but once you start lying about your work, your skills, your family, your hobbies, things can get out of hand. Though that is a topic I will be covering more extensively later, and not really the focus of today's topic. As usual, I did take the time to go around and ask a few people some questions in regards to their opinions on mirrors and a little bit about their looks online, because what matters is not my thoughts on it, but the thoughts of all of you, the community. This is how it went. So just to kind of repeat myself again, my name is Nuoance. I'm going over mirrors and identity in VRChat right now. You know, basing yourself off your avatar, how much of yourself in real life is compared to yourself in VR. And so I've got six. I got 6 questions for you. You guys can just take turn answering if you'd like. The first one is, what is your opinion on people who sit in front of the mirror?
I think that it's, at this point, normal. I mean, that's something everyone in VRChat ends up doing at some point, and it just becomes, at least from what I've noticed, just the end of the night thing, where even though you'll play Among Us or any of the other VR worlds that have come out, it just ends up being everybody sits in front of a mirror because it's easier to see everyone in the mirror. I would say solid 85% of the time is spent in front of the mirror.
Oh, well, that's a loaded question. I don't mind it. I mean, it doesn't hurt anyone to be sitting in front of a mirror.
I'm not one to really sit on the mirror. I kind of like playing all the little fun maps that come out for VRChat. I'm not really into like staring at the mirror and stuff or like being there.
Me personally, I do VR as my job, so I'm currently a content creator, and I use the mirror a lot to use facial expressions for my avatar. That's how I use them. But I know a lot of people use them so that they can see their avatars cuddling, and so I just kind of let them do them. That's about it.
For probably about 5 years now. That's the whole reason I even got full body tracking, and I still have like a stigma towards people sitting in mirrors. Like, I don't even sit in front of a mirror unless people are there.
I don't personally use mirrors when I'm by myself, like solo, unless I'm making a video or something, but when I'm with people, it's just a good way to like see how you and the other person look together at the same time, because you can only see one person, you can't see yourself. It's kind of like, oh, you see the full picture.
Do you consider yourself sitting in front of the mirror often, and what do you do while sitting in front of the mirror?
Well, by virtue of playing VRChat, I find myself in front of mirrors often. And it's usually just sitting there talking to people.
Relax. chill, kind of just talk to each other. I personally try to make people laugh because I like seeing when the avatars bounce. That's really it. Just kind of relax, cuddle. A lot of times I try to make cuddle piles.
Oh man, I sit in front of the mirror as often as I can. What I do is just talk. It's nice to be able to sit there and be able to see all of your friends, like, and yourself, all in the one, like, same space, and being able to see all of them and just how they're emoting and everything, because it's so much better than, like, looking directly at every single one of them, you know? Being able to see all of them is kind of, like, the main thing, and a lot of the times we either just talk and just hang out, or we might all just lay there and cuddle, you know, you never know.
Sitting in front, see, I like sitting in front of a mirror because sometimes when you're speaking to people or engaging in anything, your facial expressions, sometimes some people don't understand what the facial expressions are. So they try and learn to do it while they're speaking. And that's where loads of people tend to be in front of the mirrors, or because they don't know their own expressions with their avatars themselves.
But I think it's just easier to talk to people, especially when you're talking to multiple people at once. You know?
Yes.
Because with the mirrors, you see yeah, and sometimes with certain mirrors, you can see people as they walk in, so that way you know, oh, somebody else is here. So it has like multiple uses.
That's true.
See it as fun and use it helpful for making videos and hanging out with people.
So my next question is a little bit unorthodox, but a little bit of a role play. Let's say you're entering a new world you've never been to before, and you're going around, you're looking to hang out, and you find out the world has no mirror. Do you stay or do you go?
If there's interesting people and there's good conversation happening, I'd stay. If there's people that are holding my attention, then I'd stay. Stick around, see what's going on.
All my friends would leave. If I'm there, all my friends would leave because they're gonna find a mirror and they're gonna sit in front of it. I personally would not care.
No, I would still hang around for a bit. I probably wouldn't stay as long, but I would definitely hang around for a bit, meet some people, say hi, and then be like, "Hey, come join my cult. Come join my mirror cult. Join my world."
It's if it's an interesting world and a good environment for me. So say like if it's a good place to explore, then you go explore with your friends. If there's nothing there and it's just an empty space, there's really nothing to do. So you find a different world to engage in, and the environment, I think, counts the most.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say for me, most of the time, it's mainly on a mood. Like sometimes you're just in the mood just to sit in front of a mirror, and then when there's no mirror, I would sometimes just leave. Especially like if people's talking in their own little groups and people's already broken up, I kind of just leave, especially if there's no mirror.
Oh, I would stay depending on how interesting the world is. Like if it's a bar, I don't find that really interesting. Like I can go to a bar in real life, but like if it's I spent like 4 hours in a mountains world, like a Swiss mountains world, and just because it's gorgeous. So it has to be an interesting world. Otherwise, I'd rather sit in front of a mirror.
I'm not one to like leave the game if there's like a mirror. I mean, but I still do like to hang out in the world, even if there's no mirror in there. It's fine. I like quality and stuff.
There is a line that differentiates for some people between the virtual world persona and their actual persona. Do you feel like those lines ever blur, or do you keep them very defined?
No.
Considering, okay, I'm sorry to mention it again, but like again, I do this like as my job, and so I have to keep it separate, or else my work life interferes with my actual life. So if when I come in here, I try to be like, I'm still me, but like I try to cut this from my IRL stuff. I don't associate this with me IRL because it's tiring. And I also don't associate my IRL self with this. I do what I like in this avatar in here. I wouldn't do these things IRL.
I usually stick to a couple of avatars that I usually use on a daily basis, but this one in particular, I would say, like, when I come in here, it's kind of like a persona. It's not me, but it's just a little version of me that's I can use to tell my little story.
It's a big part of life now, especially with this whole pandemic thing. Because I got on it because of the pandemic, because I know I was not going to see nobody. So I was just like, let me just do this, social interaction. It'll be fun. But It's dependent on everybody, I feel like, because it's also dependent on how, like, what level you feel like VRChat is reality. Because there are some people who feel like this is a real thing.
I am a totally different person. I don't even try to, like, emulate myself in VR. I am just completely different. There is this name, the tab, that you see running around, and then there's real life me. And there's no similarity. Not at all. The only similar thing we have is our voice.
It makes it much, especially with the stuff that they're coming out with to add to the VR experience, like haptic suits and things like that. It very much blurs that line for me.
I would definitely say that depends on the person, because if the person allows for their brain to take it all in and allows it to alter what they see, then definitely. But if you're, like, I don't know what the word I would use for that is, you are able to keep that line between reality and VR, and understand that there is a line there, not cross it, then I say line.
Just like before, it was a great experience, and people gave some really interesting takes on the topic, and honestly, I think I found the perfect formula for getting a better chance with interviews. A lot of the people I questioned were more positive about sitting in front of a mirror, and most had the same reason why, to see their surroundings better. Just like me, it can get nauseating to move your head around, even when sitting in a circle, to talk to your friends. And if you're a person who delves in VR cuddles, it's a great way to also see the person you're cuddling with if you're in front. Phantom sense is a thing, but it can only take you so far. If you want more information on that, check out my slightly disorganized video about it. The connection between your eyes and brain are critical in life, and make a big part of your VR experience. Finally, as I stated earlier in this video, I did put out a questionnaire for all of you to answer for me, and there's a bit more data we have to cover. We already know that for the most part, everything is pretty balanced in terms of how often you find yourself sitting in front of a mirror, but there was one final question I had. I wanted to know how you all felt as a whole about those who sit in front of mirrors. People who are interviewed might feel inclined to be more neutral with their opinion, since they may be recognized. But through my survey, you are completely anonymous. Even I don't know who you are. And these answers were much more polarizing. To go over lightly what some of the comments said, I found quite a few aggressive responses. Some think that if you sit in front of a mirror, you need to get a life. Some disagreed, but only out of concern for the person's well-being. Some think that mirrors aren't the problem, it's the streamers and kids who disturb those in front of the mirrors for the clout. Someone called those who camp at mirrors NPCs, and honestly, that made me laugh. There were a handful of comments from players who think that if you buy full body just to go lounge in a mirror all the time, you're stupid and part of the problem, and that brings up something I think people forget. VRChat is a small game and community, yes. And listen, if y'all come after me for saying that again, I'm going to lose it. If you don't follow my TikTok, there was a little issue where I posted that VRChat is a small community in one of my videos, compared to other games, and people were acting like I committed arson or something and refused to understand. There is nothing wrong with saying that the game is growing. I'm not starting this again. But even though it's smaller, it's the biggest social VR game out there by a landslide. People are constantly coming in and out of the game, traveling worlds, making friends, and having different bedtimes. But why is that important when regarding mirrors? Well, there's always going to be people who want to relax and lay down and sleep because either their job in the waking world or because they've already used up their energy. You may have friends who sit in front of the mirror all the time. But more often than not, people are out there doing something, not just logging in and vibing in front of a mirror 24/7. Not to say that that doesn't happen, but because we see people relaxing in public worlds all the time, we think that's all they do. And honestly, I know some people who got yelled at for being mirror dwellers who actively host events in VR, dance in VR, what have you. People who sit in front of the mirror, the one time you catch them doing so doesn't translate to them always being in front of one. But is there a time and place to vibe at the mirror? I would say yes. While obviously people are allowed to do as they please, one comment brought up a very fair argument. When I go into a public drinking night, I'm not looking to sit in front of a mirror. That world is not a place to just chill and relax like the Room of Rain. It's to play drinking games, have fun with your friends, and relax in that way. I join because I want to play Hot Seat or Never Have I Ever or On the Spot. I love games, and as of late, I have not gotten to really play them as much anymore. This conflict of interest between a group of people can give birth to annoyances, because while one is restless and bored, the other one is tired and annoyed. I've seen this time and time again, and even if it's only a few instances or becomes routine, the two groups grow distant because of it. We know there are plenty of events that host on Saturdays. For example, I know a few of my friends are gone between the hours of 10:30 and 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time for their event with Virtual Pantheon to dance, and one specific friend who actually does between 2 to 3 events that day, discluding the other ones he does throughout the week. And I know you're watching this, so yes, I am calling you out. Anyway, I try to join my friend's murder mystery game every Saturday that starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and while I'll usually not play, I'll peek in and out throughout the game, which will end on an average of 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Theoretically, this happens every week, so every Sunday while I've been lounging around during the murder mystery game, I'm not using much energy, even if I have been on longer. But my friends have been non-stop moving for hours at their club. So when I join them at 1:15 a.m., I'm filled with energy and want to do something, while everyone minus the little nutcase are usually tired out and need a break. This could lead me to believe that they're always just wanting to rest, and vice versa. Of course, this is all theoretical because I'm always tired and most of them have energy to spare, but can you see where the issues between friends could arise? Taking in the schedules of your peers can help bring a bit more understanding why they may be resting in front of a mirror what seems like all the time, when in reality it could just be your schedules misaligning your energies. And honestly, there's not much you can really do about that without making heavy changes to your day-to-day. As one person in my survey said, mirrors are a place of respite as much as they are a place of communion. This is so much of a mood, and what really encompasses what mirrors are generally used for inside the game. People just want to relax and have an easy way to see those around them while also not using much energy. Using a mirror in VRChat is the equivalent of sitting on the couch in the living room. You can see everyone easily, you're laid back, and the conversation can either be animated or soft. Sure, mirrors are a little less personal, since usually at a couch you don't sit next to a random stranger without at least talking to them first, but that's where the lines between VR and real life blur. The whole game has a party-like vibe, even when you're resting. Very rarely will someone get annoyed that a stranger is now sitting at the beer with them, or someone start dancing to the beat of their own drum, which is somewhat inappropriate in a normal realistic setting. That's really all I have to say about the topic though. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for the support you've been giving me. I've got a ton of plans for future content, and I can't wait to keep diving deeper into the society of VRChat. As usual, drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See y'all in the next video.